Hello and welcome to Decoding the WSL, the podcast dedicated to the stats and facts in the WSL. Today we're going to be looking forward to game week 5 and going through the games. And with me to do that, I have my favourite guests. Tom Maher, how are you doing?
I'm good, Izzy. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I have everyone's favourite Spurs fan. It's Jacob Bernstein. How are you doing, Jacob?
Doing good, thank you. Yeah, I used to come on these pods after Spurs losses, dreading the next week, but it's all sunshine at the moment.
So you can look forward to a nice new week where we can talk about Spurs and not immediately say it's going to be a 4-1 loss. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting week of women's football because we have the I'm calling it the Champions Weekend. We've got United playing Chelsea, we've got City playing Arsenal. It could get very spicy. So we are going to take you through some of these games and share our predictions and general thoughts and feelings. We're starting off with United Chelsea at the newly named Progress with Unity Stadium. Which was quite hard for me to just say just then, but I'm sure I'm used to it. These two are at the top of the table. Tom, are Chelsea going to be able to dominate this, or do you think this one could end up level?
Yeah, I thought they were at their best so far this season against West Ham. I also love the way you just thought, are Chelsea going to win or is it going to be a draw? No, not even bother with United winning. Let's just cut the crap. I think that the back five is starting to take shape now. I'd be really interested to see what the personnel is like in that back five, because it really did work against West Ham, but I don't anticipate United coming out and playing in the same way that West Ham did. I really like Werder Berman at left centre back. I think she's kind of what they've been missing in that back five, a left footer, somebody they've obviously got a huge amount of faith in her because she's been given the number 5 shirt. It's absolutely wild that West Ham game was only her second start for Chelsea, but she was really, really brilliant. It's a tricky one. I think obviously you'd have to back Chelsea to win this. But I'm very interested to see how United are going to set up, and they don't have to rotate or anything like that. They don't have a midweek game. So, hopefully they can just focus on getting their players fit and ready for this one. But I fear, from a United perspective, it might be a game won off the bench again. Just the quality that Chelsea have off the bench. I'm gonna go and repeat of their result that won the title last year and say 1-0 to Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean they did 1-0 last season in both fixtures, so it does seem to be a pattern. Jacob, we spoke a bit on the last pod about the squad depth for United, especially in their midfield. Given that Erin Cuthbert is firing in so much at the moment, and then obviously you've got the likes of Aggie Beever-Jones running down the wing, and even JRK to come off the bench potentially. Do you think the midfield can handle that? And what happens when there's tired legs out there for United? Do you think it could be an even higher scoreline?
I've actually gone for a 1-0 Chelsea win as well. So Tom mentioned that kind of at the back end of last season, that was the game that gifted Chelsea the league with the Lucy Bronze goal. I think both teams have started the season really well. Chelsea with 4 wins from 4, United with 10 points, that's 3 wins and a draw, and their draw being against Arsenal. So I think this is going to be a tightly contested match. This is also a game between the two teams with the strongest defences last season, which is partly why I also see it being 1-0, because I think both teams are quite hard to break down. For United, I'm interested to see what they do with Celine Bazette, because in the previous game, last game, Jade Riviere came back into right back after an injury, and we've seen Jess Park be on the left. Whereas before that, Jade Riviere was injured for one match, so Celine Bizet filled in at right back. Although last season we were used to seeing Jade Riviere at right back and then maybe Celine Bizet in a more forward right mid position. And I think that right hand side, when Riviere and Bizet are together, are really, really strong. And I think a lot of United's goals last season came from either Bizet or Riviere crossing into Turland. So maybe United's setup is a bit different this season, with Mallard coming in as well. So I'm intrigued to see kind of if United stick with Jess Park in that position or whether they can kind of fit Celine Bizet in. But I think Chelsea have a ridiculous squad depth. So I think I'd go with a 1-0 Chelsea win.
It sounds like I've been completely rinsing United, but actually I'm going to go 1-1 for this one. Just because I think they do have the talent up front to clinch it. And I think someone like Mallard as well, she's been incredible already this season. And Jess Park is just fitting in so well. I think you make very interesting points, Jacob, about that right-hand side. And, you know, like you say, Tom, they've got Berman on the left, but if there's one part of the Chelsea squad that's maybe not as locked down, it is that left wing. And if United can sort of exploit that, then perhaps they could be in for some luck. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be one with a huge amount of goals, but I'm quite excited to see as well, like the two best keepers in the league, like arguably the world. I always love it when you get sort of a thing like that because it's just good to see. It's just good to. I just love the level of goalkeeping this season. Like I think for the last few seasons in WSL, it's been one of the weaker sides of the game, but we just have so much talent now. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if any goals go in. Maybe it'll be 0-0. Who knows? But I think consensus, we're going with every other match between Man United and Chelsea and calling it 1-0. So the other game is City Arsenal. That's Saturday at 12 p.m. at the Joy Stadium. If Arsenal win this, they can go to second place, whereas a City win would keep them in a top 3 position. This fixture last season was a goal fest. It was 3-4 to the home team. 2 goals from Mary Fowler and a goal from Mariona 1 minute in. Obviously, as well, it being a City fixture, Stina Blackstenius managed to get on the score sheet. Go on, I mentioned Stina. So, Tom, what do you think is going to happen?
Stina winner, of course. You know, this is a really interesting one to know where both teams are at, especially City, I think, because, you know, that Chelsea game, first game of the season, first competitive game under Andre Jurgler, you know, is always going to be a really tough ask. But now we've seen City put 3 wins on their belt, get a bit of familiarity in different scenarios in that team under him. And it's going to be a really interesting test. And, you know, Arsenal, I think, maybe could have come into this game with a little bit of a more relaxed attitude than they will be now, because having dropped points in their last 2 games, I feel like the way that Chelsea play, it really, you know, if Chelsea win this weekend and Arsenal drop points, 6 points already, it feels like a lot. So I think Arsenal really, really need to win this game. And it's the same for Manchester City, really, because it could be 6 points for them too. So, I think it's going to be quite tight. And I think Arsenal are going to nick it 2-1. But yeah, I think they're going to need to improve a lot. And maybe it'll be, if she's fully fit again, it'll be a Chloe Kelly winner against the City fans. Can I predict a shushing the City fans? You know, I mean, I could see it. I really could.
Yeah, the trouble is there's not really any good Instagram caption that goes with Joy Stadium, is there?
If there is, Chloe will find it. So let's see. But yeah, I could see it. But yeah, that's certainly a very interesting aspect to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got the Miedemar derby, as you know, the Battle of Miley, as it's now, I think, more officially known. Jacob, what are your thoughts? I'm particularly thinking about how the sort of wingers are going to play into this match because we know Lauren Hemp's not going to be able to play. She would have been a key player for City. I think the Arsenal winger situation is interesting. I personally think Caitlin Ford is like one of the best in the league at what she does. She doesn't seem to be starting every game. Now she's got a lot of competition, obviously with Beth Mead and Chloe Kelly as well. Where do you think this game's going to be won?
I don't think it's going to be won because I'm predicting a draw. I'm predicting a 2-2 draw. I think I'm expecting goals in this game because for a couple of reasons. Firstly, both of these teams have the most XG, have accumulated the most XG in the league. City have accumulated 11.1 and Arsenal 8.4. And over the course of the season, maybe less so for Arsenal in the last two games, but we've seen both Arsenal and City score 4s and score 5s, perhaps against weaker opponents. But I think City haven't kept a clean sheet this season yet. Arsenal have only kept one, which was that kind of 0-0 draw against United. So I'm going to go for a 2. I think, I think the wingers will be important. I think I'm intrigued to see. Well, to have an update on Carolyn because she was fantastic in the Spurs game. So I think if she can get some game time, especially with Lauren Hemp out, I think that could be key. I think for Arsenal, Arsenal got such strength and depth in wingers. I've been very impressed with Olivia Smith at the start of the season. I just think she looked so confident running and has scored a couple of really good goals as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards 3-2 to City. I think I do this naturally as an Arsenal fan just to stop myself from feeling disappointed and anything's a bonus. I think their attacking prowess now that's kind of settling in and our maybe slightly shaky defence. I think Arsenal could have trouble seeing it out, but again, they've got probably a better bench to sort of contend with. So hopefully Chloe Kelly will be sort of back and fit and she can kind of come on in that role. But yeah, I agree, Jacob. I think there's going to be goals just because there always seems to be with these two teams. And selfishly, it's better for my fantasy. So that's my I'm manifesting it and speaking it into existence. So on Sunday we have the 11:55 kickoffs because for some reason there's been really weird kickoff times. I don't know if anyone can shed any light as to what people were doing in those 5 minutes that meant we needed to sort of push it slightly. But anyway, Leicester v Everton. This is going to be an interesting one, I think, because it's at home for Leicester, and as we know, they tend to do quite well at home. But they did lose Spurs last weekend at home, so it's not necessarily this season the fortress that it once was. They've both won 1, lost 3 in the season so far, and the one that they won was Liverpool for both teams. So they're pretty on even footing. I'd say this fixture last season, it was 1-0 to Leicester. I'm probably going to go same again. I think Leicester are a kind of dark horse, actually. I know we all spoke about them being in the relegation zone, and they probably still are, but I do think there's a sprinkling of potential there that they've shown. And yeah, I think they could probably clinch this one if Everton stay on the kind of form that they have done. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
I think before going into this game, I think there's a bit of a wider point. I think this weekend is, I should have said this before, but I think this weekend is probably one of the most important weekends of the WSL season because of the fact that there are games where it's United, Chelsea, and City, Arsenal. That means that the rest of the games are between teams that are lower down in the table. So I think there's a real chance for a couple of teams who haven't won yet to start picking up momentum. And yeah, I think this one's really hard to call. I think I think it's going to be low scoring because I think both teams haven't done too well. I think I'm also going to go for a 1-0 Leicester win. I think Leicester have had a couple of difficult games to start the season. They've played both United and Chelsea, and the loss to Chelsea was narrow. So I don't think Leicester have been too bad, whereas Everton with 3 losses in a row, I think they're not on great form. And as I spoke about on the review pod, Leicester's home record last season was very strong. So I think if they can pick up a win here, it will just kickstart that home form. And they beat Liverpool. They beat Liverpool at home. Yeah, I've gone for a 1-0 Leicester win.
Tom?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interest. This is probably the closest game of the weekend, I'd say, at the moment. I think maybe I think Rick Passmore's done a really good job so far at Leicester. He's kind of given the players confidence, got them, has clearly kind of got that kind of feeling, a positive feeling in the group. And I thought they played really well against Spurs in the end. And I think it's a testament to Spurs more than anything else that they were able to come out and win that game. And even Martin Ho said that, it wasn't the best game for them. They didn't play brilliantly, but they got the win. And, I think that Leicester made it difficult for them. I think Everton are a tricky one. I think they need players like Kelly Gago, who didn't play against Brighton. They need goals. It seems like it's just been their issue for a while now. They just don't have, or they just haven't been able to have that consistent scoring at the start of a season. Obviously they had that brilliant start at Anfield, but since then the goals have dried up, and just feels like they've immediately kind of become reliant on Vignola, and it's just not really a sustainable thing for a player who scored 6 goals last season in Liga F. She's probably not going to be getting double figures this year. I think if Gago comes back, it gives Everton more of a focal point. I think I'm going to go 1-1. I think Everton will pick something up out of this game.
Yeah, it's so weird as well, because I think Everton last season were such a dynamic team, and they had Gago, but they had Snoyce. I mean, from aerial fantasy perspective, she was one of the highest scorers in the game. If you'd listened to our last podcast and played along with Know Your Stat, you may have mentioned her. She was one of the answers to one of the rounds. But there's plenty of talent there, and obviously they've just got Maz Pacheco, Heather Payne. Like, I just don't understand why it's not kind of fitting together. And Brian Sorensen, I think, is an excellent manager, and I've always really sort of appreciated the way he runs his game. But I think there's going to have to be questions asked if they can't get something from this game with Leicester. I think you're right, Jacob. I think it's really, really important fixture for them to win. I say as I predicted Leicester to win. Just unleash the chaos. At the same time, we have London City Lionesses versus Liverpool at the Copperjacks Community Stadium, also at 11:55 a.m. This is an interesting one. Do London City Lionesses have a home advantage? Because I think they're picking up quite a crowd of fans now. Obviously, Liverpool is the type of club where there is a very strong set of fans and followers of the game, but I think London City are really sort of starting to pick up a kind of atmosphere where they play. Obviously, they've just come off the back of some strong games. We spoke in the review pod of the games last week about how they've actually had some tough fixtures and kind of held themselves very well. and Liverpool have obviously failed to win any of their last league games. Potentially, this could actually be a really good fixture for London City Lionesses. Tom, what do you think? What are your predictions?
Yeah, maybe to your point, Izzy, like I saw that Chelsea announced that they're going to play London City Lionesses at Stamford Bridge on the 1st of November, not at Kingsmeadow. So,
Big
maybe
games.
that goes to the fans, that they're going to have a good following. I mean, I was at their home game, or their only league home game so far this season, and I suppose it's kind of hard to judge because it was their record attendance, but United fans were like, I don't remember hearing a London City chant, but this is actually something that came up with the managers afterwards, and I think Jocelyn Fisher was even saying, you can't compare us to Manchester United, like you can't expect us to be out singing like one of the biggest football clubs in world football, like in our second week in the league, which I thought was a pretty fair type comment to make. But I like this matchup for London City. I think they need to start cutting out some of those defensive errors, especially giving away so many penalties. I think there's been at least one penalty in every single London City Lionesses game so far this season, and one was for them against Arsenal, but the rest they've given away. And I think you cannot be giving those kind of numbers out to teams. And obviously, as Jacob quite rightly mentioned earlier, they were against the top clubs. But it's still like you just can't be doing it. And some of them are just very silly the way they've been given away. Like Sangare's penalty was extremely silly, and the same with both of Yana Fernandez is that she's given away this season so far. So they can't be affording to give Liverpool anything. But yeah, I do like this matchup for London City. I think Nikita Paris loves playing against Liverpool. She's just like, I could see her scoring, and I'm going to go 2-1 to London City Lionesses. I think Liverpool are still, I can't see. I just don't have a lot of faith in Liverpool at the moment, I got to say, and I haven't seen anything on the pitch that would change my opinion there.
Yeah, to be honest, Tom, I'd say you're spot on. I was going to say 2-1. Jacob, what were you going for?
Yeah, similar. I've gone 3-1. I think it's a good fixture for London City Lionesses as well. I think it's been a concerning start to the season for Liverpool. They've lost 3 out of 3. They actually only conceded 2.9 XG, but they've conceded 7 goals. So that's a big underperformance. And Liverpool have only scored 1 goal, which was against Everton on the opening day. So in terms of goal threat, I'm slightly concerned for Liverpool. London City Lionesses, as we've said, they have played 3 of the top teams, and the game that wasn't, they did win against Everton. I think their attack has been quite strong despite some of those losses. They've scored in all 4 of their games. And I think, Tom spoke about Nikita Paris. I think Nikita Paris, Izzy Goodwin, and Aslani could be very, very strong. So, I've gone for a 3-1 London City Lionesses win.
Nice. Well, hopefully it is a good start to the season for them as well. I think on a sort of off the pitch note, I think the work they've been doing with together to get them on the shirt sponsor and everything, I think Michelle Kang knows what she's doing. They're really tuned into the fans, and maybe the crowds won't be there at the stadium to start, but they're obviously investing as well in their new sort of facility. They've got their planning permission for, so they're certainly pumping money into sort of building something around the team. And I think, it could be interesting if they keep delivering results. We might be seeing some more London City Lionesses fans come out the cracks. Spurs Brighton Sunday at Spurs at the BetRight Stadium. Both teams are on a roll. They have both secured some good wins. No pun intended on London City Lionesses score. They're on a roll, and they tend to draw, or Spurs clinch a win with these teams. It's never a sort of fixture that favours Brighton or has historically favoured Brighton, but I think they're running a tight ship, and they look like they're kind of growing into the season and scoring more and more goals. So, Jacob, are you backing the home side for this one?
You said it could be a draw, and I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I think this is a really interesting matchup because you have to say in the first 4 games of the season, Spurs and Brighton have probably emerged as the 2 best of the rest teams so far. Spurs with 9 points, Brighton with 7, and they're the only 2 teams outside of the kind of traditional top 4 that have got more than 3 points. So both of them have kind of got some consistency. And actually, looking at their results, they've both had very similar starts to the season. Both Spurs and Brighton have beaten West Ham and Everton, and both Spurs and Brighton have lost to City. The only difference is that Brighton drew to Villa and Spurs beat Leicester. They both also kept 2 clean sheets each. So because of that, I'm not expecting a goal fest, and I've gone 1-1. I will be at Brisbane Road on Sunday for this one. I wasn't at the City game, and I've been to the West Ham game on the opening day and the Villa game in the Cup, which means so far in 2
100%.
games I haven't seen Spurs. So I'm hoping that can continue, please.
Jacob is the emblem. We'll be checking in. Stay tuned, listener, to next week's pod, where we check in on Jacob and his mental health. Tom, what are you going for?
Well, I feel bad now, but I do have a Brighton win down for this one. I was going to go for 2-1. I don't think it's necessarily that Spurs can't win this game. I definitely think they can. I think they've shown enough that if they come out with the right, if they come out playing like they did against Leicester, especially with the way that Holt was playing those individuals like Tandberg as well, and obviously it's kind of been lost because with all these exciting shiny new toys, but Bethany England is still one of the best strikers in the league. So they're a really good side, but I think maybe just for me, I think when I've seen Spurs play, they've done well, but maybe I haven't seen them play well for a whole 90 minutes. There's been periods where the games kind of got away from them, and I think against City, City were the only team that really capitalised on that and kind of put the game outside for Spurs. So, and I don't think that Brighton by any means are going to walk over Spurs, but I do think that Brighton are a team a little bit further in their process progression as a side under Dario Vidosic, have a whole season under their belts as opposed to Martin Ho's Tottenham. And I think that might just give them the edge in this game. And there's Brighton just been playing some great football. Maisie Simons having a great season so far, and Fran Kirby is just ageless, isn't she? She's just fantastic. And just exciting players like Adjaman, Kafaji. Yeah, I'm just giving them the edge in this one, but it wouldn't surprise me if Spurs got something out of this game, though.
Yeah, I think you kind of summed up where I was going with it as well, Tom. I think Spurs might just have it. Brighton might just have it just because of where they are and in sort of their team development. But I do think it'll be a good matchup, and I'm excited to see it because I think whichever team wins is probably quite an important fixture for them, kind of as Jacob alluded to it in the sort of WSL more generally. So I think it will be a good one. But I think 2-1's fair. I think that's what I'm going for as well. I don't see loads of goals, but I definitely see at least one for each side. So, yes. But for your sake, Jacob, I hope it's 2-1 to Spurs. Finally, West Ham Villa at the Chigwell. Last time out this season, last season it was 2-3 West Ham 2, Villa 3. We've spoken about Villa doing quite well. Obviously, West Ham have not had the best start to the season, but could this be the fixture where they pick up points? I'm going for boringly 2-1 to Villa. Jacob, what do you think is going to happen?
I've also gone 2-1 to Villa. I think both teams are winless to start the season, but I think that doesn't really tell the tale, because I think we spoke about it on the review pod, but I think Villa have obviously played a game less. They've had strong draws in their away games, and their only home game has been to Chelsea. After this, Villa would have played 3 away games and 1 home game, so I think it's still, regardless of what happens in this game, I think it's still quite hard to judge Villa, because they wouldn't have had any home games against kind of lower teams. And yeah, West Ham, it's been a really tough start to the season. They've had 4 losses. They've only scored 2 goals, and even those 2 goals were a penalty and an own goal. And they've conceded 14. So I think it could even be optimistic predicting a West Ham goal in this. I really hope for West Ham's sake that they can start getting the goals back, because it was so nice seeing West Ham strength in attack last season. And we obviously saw Fionn Morgan come in for Shakira Martinez last week. So I'm intrigued as to whether that will continue against Villa. But yeah, I think Villa look relatively strong. So I've gone 2-1.
Tom, are you as pessimistic about West Ham as maybe we are?
I characterise it maybe more as optimistic about Aston Villa, because I think that they are really, really good, and I think that Natalia Arroyo is really building something there. You know, she talks a lot about family vibes is kind of her thing, and I've heard a few of the players say that as well, and I think you can see that in the way that they work for each other on the pitch, the way that they play, their understanding. I think this could be an entertaining one. I think that West Ham have been unlucky not to score more so far this season. But I do think that their defence needs sorting out, because they've just been too open, really, so far this year. And I think it might continue like that. And I think maybe Villa are catching West Ham at a good time as well, in the fact that they're coming off the back of 2 heavy home defeats, in a bit of a similar way to the way they caught them at the end of last season. I think after that big loss away at Leicester. I'm going to go Villa 4, West Ham 2.
Ooh.
A bit of spice.
Ooh. Well, that actually leads me on nicely to my next section, which is who are top 3 picks in Aerial Fantasy for game week 5? Because it sounds like, Tom, you're just stacking your team with Villa players.
I'm actually not. I just love the drama. You know, I just couldn't say 2-1 again. You know.
Absolutely fair enough, to be honest. Well, I'll start. This is like the problem, right? Is that we've all stacked our team with top 4 players, and now they're all playing each other. So in an ideal world, and potentially might be, because I'm dangerously close to clicking yes on clean slate. Like I tried to do it in like the first week as well, so I'm so screwed already. But I think my top 3 picks for this week would be maybe Kafaji, Paris, and Kirsty Hansen, I think. I don't know. I know Kirsty Hansen's sort of a super sub, so she doesn't get the sort of points for the minutes, but I just the spidey senses is sort of where I'm going with that. Whether that actually ends up materializing for me, we will see. But Jacob, what are you thinking?
I had Nikita Paris down as well, but I'll throw in a couple of different names. The one from London City Lionesses that I've gone for is Aslani. Aslani has the most key passes, which are passes leading directly to a shot in the league, which I thought was a good stat. Aslani is also in my team, so I'm hoping that she's a good pick because of that. And then the other one I've gone for, especially if Tom is predicting goals for Villa, is Ebony Salmon, because I really like the look of her. And then I've gone for a couple of Leicester players. So I think McLaughlin and Sam Tierney are quite good choices. I think if there's any week to kind of back, I guess, visionaries or low-owned players, this is probably it, because I think, especially with the top teams playing against each other, there's a lot of chances for some of the lowly owned players to score big.
Tom, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I had Sam Tierney as well, visionary, scored. I thought she was fantastic. She won, I think, was it 13 out of 19 duels against Tottenham? Like really, really good performance, even to be on the losing side. But I'll go with a few others. I've got Rosa Van Gool, which is kind of a bit of a, just because she's a visionary. She hit the crossbar against Liverpool, and Jacob mentioned earlier she had that great chance which should have done better. And obviously, I'm referring to chances she's missed, but I'm hoping that maybe she'll get a chance and score at some point, and to be a visionary as well against Leicester could get something. And then I also am going to mention Caitlin Hayes. She is only 4 million, so one of the cheapest defenders on the game. She's been starting for Brighton the last 2 games, scored against West Ham, and actually had 2 big chances against Everton this weekend. Obviously, again, she didn't score either of them, but if you're looking at those numbers and getting into those positions, and we all know, well, I definitely know how good she is from set pieces, and she's such a threat. And when she's playing with confidence, she's just a brilliant player to have in your team. And then one more visionary I think I'm going to mention is Verla Berman. She's 5 million. I think it's pretty good. You could get in on a steal. And, I think even though they're playing Man United, I still think they played United 3 times last year, won 3-0 in the FA Cup final, won 1-0 both times in the league, 3 clean sheets. Wouldn't be the worst decision to bring in Berman, I don't think. But yeah, so those would be my 3.
It's interesting because you're saying all the ones that I thought about and then discarded for my current like plans, and now you've convinced me to go back to my initial thoughts, and now I'm just like really confused. But yes, it might be a week for the sort of overhaul of the team and playing of the clean slate, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm tempted to just avoid all Arsenal and City players if I can, to be honest. I know we've sort of done our predictions, but I'm not really sure where it's going to go and who it's going to come from. I think is the problem, is those teams particularly have their goal scorers sort of scattered around. What about?
Can I admit something? Sorry, can I admit something? I've already used my clean slate.
Amazing. Now I don't feel
It's like 2 weeks ago.
Incredible. And did it work?
Well, no.
My favourite thing about these preview ones is when we give loads of advice and then we come back next week and it's very clear, at least for me and Tom, that no one should ever follow our fantasy advice.
Exactly.
For captains, I'm torn here because I think I've captained Aggie Beever-Jones like every week, but she's got to run out at some point, right, of scoring. And I think I might captain Paris this week. I think that might be a shout. And Jacob also said a lot about her today, and I think that's convinced me. Jacob, would you agree?
Yeah, if I had Paris, I might go with her. I've got Aslani, so if I'm feeling bold, I might captain Aslani. But if not, it'll probably be Bunny Shaw, just because A, she's been my captain for the last 2 weeks, and B, City at home to Arsenal, she could get a goal. But I think captaincy choice is hard this week. Maybe if you had like Ebony Salmon or something, that could be quite a good shout against the leaky West Ham defence.
Tom, what's your cunning plan?
That everyone should not listen to. I've also gone Paris. I've transferred Paris in already, so and she's got the captain's armband already ready to go. So
right, Nikita, if you are listening to us, we need you more than ever.
Yeah, incoming generational stinker. Yeah. She's getting sent off.
Literally, at this point, I'm kind of losing so badly. I might like transfer in like Caitlin Hayes and then captain her and just see what happens. It's all to play.
Are you okay, Jacob, after that?
I think it's gonna be an interesting one for fantasy, and I think Jacob, you make a very good point. It is definitely giving visionary vibes this week. So have a scroll through and see who's a visionary, because I think there's some interesting ones. And what I quite like about aerial fantasy this year is that the visionaries are not necessarily who you'd expect. I think the scales have sort of been balanced more, and people are choosing the people that score. So it's actually kind of harder to predict which visionaries are going to do well. So yes, we will see what happens. But that is that for this week's preview pod. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Tom, as ever, for joining me. And thank you, listener, for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and you can look at our lovely faces on the new Decoding the WSL YouTube channel. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Halfway Line pod. Tom, do you want to tell us a bit more about it and tell everyone where they can find it?
Oh, thank you very much, Izzy. Yeah, so the Halfway Line show is with me, Jamie Spanger, and Beth McCowan, and we talk a bit about the WSL mainly, and then we also cover other leagues like the NWSL, the League of Ireland, the WSL2, and we have our own kind of game show. It's know your stat, but we try our best. Goalless, spin on pointless. So you can find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, and Halfway Line also have a league on aerial fantasy as well. So do join that, because I can't remember the code actually, so that's really hard.
It's halfway.
Yeah.
Halfway.
So halfway for the Halfway Line Pod League, and code Stats and Facts for Decoding your WSL League. You can play along with us and not follow our advice and then beat us in our respective pod leagues. So that is sure to be a lot of fun for some people, not me. We're also giving away a copy of Football Manager. So if you head to the Instagram, which is at Decoding the WSL, you can get involved. Just follow us, like the post, and tag your friend in the comments. And each comment will be an entry into the competition. Obviously, for the first time, women's football and the WSL will be in Football Manager 26. So that is very exciting for people like us who enjoy talking and thinking and just constantly living women's football and all the stats around it. And that's it for today. So thank you again, everyone, for listening, and we will speak to you at the next one.